Good evening, I'm Brett Baer. The only shots being fired continue to be of the rhetorical variety tonight as the anticipation grows of a U.S. military attack against Syria. The U.S. is so far playing by the rules with other nations. However, the lawmakers here at home were, until today, definitely feeling left out. We have Fox team coverage. Melissa Francis in New York has the economic implications of a military move on Syria. Catherine Herridge looks at how limited strikes have worked before. James Rosen at the State Department looks at the possible blowback our action might carry for our allies and our adversaries. But we begin with Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry with where things stand right now. Hello, Ed.
Good evening, Brett. Fox has learned that tomorrow the White House will brief top House and Senate members about key intelligence involving Syria, but also possible strikes that are planned against Syria. What we're still waiting for is an actual report to the public about what that intelligence shows, and we're still waiting for the president to make his case.
As President Obama spoke out on the peaceful, nonviolent legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., another day passed without him speaking out on whether he's about to launch military strikes against Syria. The commander-in-chief has thus far left his public case to Vice President Biden and others, while his counterparts in Britain and France have spoken out. And legislators in both countries are coming back for emergency sessions.
It's interesting to me that both the British Parliament and the French Parliament have convened to discuss this issue. I do think that the president needs to have more consultation, which so far has not been there, but the War Powers Act is a little murky about that.
A growing number of American lawmakers in both parties want to clear up the murkiness. A letter circulated by Congressman Scott Rigell demanding an emergency session to debate military action in Syria has quickly drawn over 100 signatures from Republicans and Democrats.
He ought to call us back into session if he's warranted on the evidence. We'll stand with him with statutory authority.
In addition to national security, lawmakers are also raising questions about the nation's debt. Senator James Inhofe, the top Republican on the Armed Services Committee, declared late today, quote, "I cannot support military action in Syria unless the president presents to Congress his broader strategy in the region that addresses our national security interests and the budget to support it." Pressure is also coming from Democrats, who say the president has the power to act alone, but should have a debate in Congress to carefully consider the fact it could spark a much wider conflict in the Mideast.
I just believe that Americans have to realize that if we go in, that we may not get out as quickly as they believe we may.
While the president and vice president have been consulting with lawmakers by phone, they vowed in the 2008 campaign to get actual authorization from Congress before taking military action, with then Senator Biden going so far as to say he would personally seek impeachment charges against President Bush if he bombed Iran without a congressional okay, though Biden mixed up Iran with Iraq.
What I've said as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, if he takes the country to war in Iraq without a vote of Congress, which will not exist, then he should be impeached.
Now, new pressure tonight from both sides of the aisle. Just in the last few moments, Democrat Jerry Nadler putting out a statement saying the president must get congressional authorization before launching any attack, and Speaker John Boehner sending a letter directly to the president saying that as commander-in-chief, it's time finally for him to directly make his case to the American people. Brett?
Ed Henry live on the North Lawn. Ed, thank you. While Syria